just how to sort of do basic things in FreeCAD, specifically the common tasks for like an ultrafast laser lab. So I have FreeCAD open. You can see I'm using FreeCAD 19 on a Mac, and we'll just create a new document here. So this is sort of our 3D view. And then the first thing that we might want to do. Oh, the other important things that we're going to use is I've installed the TechDraw workbench as well as the thread profile workbench. Those are the two key ones, and you can install those. For me, it's under Tools, Add-on Manager, and it sort of goes to the web and it finds all these different workbenches that you can install. So you can see I have fasteners installed and thread profile. So, okay, so the first thing we're going to do probably is go to Part, and we can just make sort of a rectangular shape, very common in Ultrafast Laser Lab. And let's say we want it to be 2.5 inches by 2.5 inches. And let's say we want it 3/8 of an inch thick. And so I'm zoom out, I'm just going to use my scroll wheel. And then to move left and right, I'm holding down Shift and then just moving my mouse, not clicking. And to rotate, I hold down the Option button and then just move my mouse, again, no clicking. Okay, so we kind of have a basic plate, and then often we want to put in holes for maybe like 1/4 screws. So holes are cylinders, and so you have to look up what the right radius is for clearance holes. So I just happen to know for 1/4 clearance hole that the radius should be 0.141 inches. And the height here is long enough, so that's all we care about. It will make the hole go all the way through. And let's just put it somewhere. So we go to the placement, position, and let's just move it 1 inch in X and 1 inch in Y. And so that's where we want the hole. So then over here we have to click on Cube first. I'm holding down the Alt button and clicking on Cylinders. Now I've selected both of those. And then we use this Boolean operation of make a cut of 2 shapes. So there we have a hole somewhere in our piece. Now if we want like a counterboard so that the head of the screw fits in there, then we need to make, of course, another cylinder. And the radius on these is 208, whoops, not 208 thousandths, 0.208 inches. There we are. And now the height's actually important here. A tip for a standard issue 1/4 screw, it's 0.275. And so you can see the counterboard is going to take up most of the depth or the width of our piece here. So it's in the wrong spot, and we probably want it on the top. So for there, we have to use our positioning. Whoops, not 375. We probably want it at 0.1. There we are, and then I think we set this at 1 inch and 1 inch. Okay, so now now the part is actually called cut, and we want to remove this other cylinder, so there we go. Now we have a counterboard hole that would hold the head of a 1/4 socket cap screw. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward. What's a little more interesting is adding a threaded, like a tapped hole for, say, a 1/4 screw. So we can do that. We use this thread profile workbench. It works pretty well. And I'm looking at, so we got to look up 2 values. So the first thing we want to do is create the thread. So you can see it here. And there's a lot of options. We could actually use the guy who wrote this created some presets, but I'm going to show you. There aren't that many. There's mostly metric. So for a 1/4 screw, the minor diameter, you can look it up a lot of places. It's something like 0.1959 inches, and the pitch, well, it's a 1/4 screw, so there's 20 threads per inch, so that's 50 thousandths of an inch. And let's just make sure we're going to have enough. We're going to want 20 thread counts, so that'll make this an inch long when it does it. So that was step 1. All we've kind of done is set up the basic parameters for this. Then we have to click on the thread profile. Oh wait, we also want to select that it's going to be an internal thread. Okay. And the rest of this is fine for now. Yeah, just for ease of viewing, I'm actually going to put it at minus a half inch. You'll see why in a second. So we click on the thread profile, and then we click on the helix button. That should, if it worked, you should see this sort of a shape. So that's what it's going to do. It's not yet a 3D shape, but it's understood how many threads we want and the pitch and the diameter. And so then we have to click on the thread profile again, hold down our Alt button and click on the helix, and then this one lights up the sweep. So that does the sweep, and that will create the thread. So now let's move it somewhere and put a tapped hole. So let's go to maybe 2 inches in Y and 2 inches in X. Doesn't really matter for this purpose. And let's actually drop it down a 1/4 of an inch, just so it goes all the way through. Okay, so now you can guess what's coming. We click on the cut. We hold down Alt, select the sweep. Then we have to go back to that part and do the Boolean. There we go. So now we have a tapped hole in our piece. So this is great, and we can make nice parts this way. But often what we want is a nice drawing. So for that we use the Tech Draw panel. And let's get this out of the way. Move that over there. Okay. So we want to hit this button, which is Insert a Default Page, so it kind of operates on its own page. There we are. So we could just change the title here, and we'll call it Test Piece. And can add my name. Fine. You get the idea here. I don't know how to change it from size A4 to anything else. I gave up. So what we want to do now, to make like top view, side view, and all that stuff, we need to sort of have the right profile here. Okay, so I use these tools to set it to a top view, and then we select this to make sure our part is selected, and then we hit this button, which is Insert a View. And I only have one page, so it knows to insert it into the page that I have. If we have multiple pages, you'd have to hold down the Alt button, select which page you want, and then it would put the image in that page. So there we are. We can move it around. We can set its placement values. There we go. So that's kind of interesting. Of course, we can zoom in. So, but now we want to know, like, what are the sizes of things. And so to do that, we select this line. You can see it turned green when I've selected it. And then we hold down the Alt button, we select those lines, and then we can insert the vertical dimension. So 2.5 inches. You can see as I slide it along, it moves. So I'm going to put that kind of far away, and I'm going to do the same thing here, 2.5 inches. You get the idea. So put something there. And these kind of dashed lines, they won't show up on your drawing, and neither will this word. That's just kind of to, you can see it's an object here, and it knows what these dimensions are. Okay, the more interesting thing is, like, what is the location of this hole? So we can select that and hold this down, and okay, good, that's 1 inch. And what about the location of this hole? I think you get the idea, 1.5 inch. Now let's say we want to know the radius of this hole. So you can see it's sort of turned that circle green, and so we can go up here and hit the insert diameter dimension. Yeah, that's fine. Oops. Oops, I think I had clicked on the wrong thing. There we go, that should be better. Huh. Okay, I'm not sure quite what's going on there. That's fine. Let's just do one of these as an example. Normally that works. I don't quite know what's happening there. So let's do this one. There we are, 416. That's the correct value, I think, for 1/4-20 cap head counterbore, and 282. That's the correct size for a clearance hole. And we can play with all of these profiles. That's odd. I don't know why this one didn't work. It's very strange. Well, maybe we'll get it on some of the other views. That's fine. So But this doesn't have any depth information. So to do that, we have to go back here and change our side view. Now this looks really boring, and that's fine. So we'll insert a view like this. So that's the side view, and of course we can add the depth information. But the one thing that's missing here is we can't see the holes inside to figure out how deep they are. So to do that, we can go to a view like this, and we do what's called a section. So insert section view. And there's got to be a way to think about this carefully. Honestly, I just kind of select different things, and so I know that's going to work. And the location here is 1 inch, so I think sometimes I get the view wrong, and I don't really know why. Aha, there it is. So I just do trial by error. I'm sure there's a way to think through it carefully, but usually I get it pretty quick. So now we can add the depth profile on that. So, and you can see it added a little line where it did the slice. So we could do that again, actually, and show that this tap goes all the way through if we want. I think I did here, and that's 1.5. Hopefully that will light up. And this can be really slow for these threaded components. There it is. Great. So yeah, this is kind of just the basics on how to use FreeCAD and do the things that are pretty typical for an ultrafast laser laboratory. And I hope you found this useful.